Good morning, my dear expats from our office in Munich. And we have today a massively important video for you guys in the agenda planned. What is this? Is the topic of how to save taxes using your double household. And what this all comes down to is how you can benefit from the double household by claiming up to 1,000 euros a month in your annual tax declaration, in the best of cases. And what are we exactly speaking about? Let's define what is first this double household. What is considered this? Anyone who has registered a second home at work and maintains another household at home can deduct the entire rental cost from their income tax. And when does this second home apply? If you're a worker with a second home at your place of work, but because of the distance between home and work, it is too far for a daily commute, then you can deduct many of the costs incurred in this regard as income tax expenses. The big requirement here is that there must be another accommodation as the main residence. So the primary residence must be your center of life. In other words, your primary residence is the place where your family and friends live. And if there is a second home, you can deduct up to 1,000 euros per month, which can be claimed for this home alone, meaning rent and utilities. In addition, trips to the hometown or expenses for furniture, etc., can also be deducted. There are some strict criteria to fulfill in order for this double household to take place. The second home is subject to certain criteria. In order for the tax office to accept the cost for running them both, the following 5 points must be met. The second home, which could be also a shared flat, must be used for the sole purpose of a professional activity. The workplace must also be nearer the second home than the main residence. Outside the workplace, another apartment is maintained at this primary residence, and the primary residence is the center of family life as it can be defined. Financial participation in the apartment at the primary residence must be met. Since 2014, that means that if you are making a financial contribution of at least 10% of the running cost, meaning financial management of this household keeping, then you are fulfilling this last criteria. Now, my dear expats, let's set a clear cut between two different types of double household keeping. First of all, one within Germany, and then one in your home countries, or an international double household upkeeping. So, first of all, within Germany, look at the following. If you're living in a German city and working in another, as an employee, you must be flexible and mobile these days. So, if the dream job is too far away from your own hometown, many professionals often consider a second home instead of completely moving away. As if that isn't expensive enough, many cities and communities demand an extra tax. It's called the second home tax, or Zweitwohnungssteuer. And each municipality decides for itself whether to levy the tax and how it will be. When accepting this job offer in another German city, you should definitely take the financial aspect into account. Well, however, under certain conditions, you can benefit from exceptions and claim the cost for the second home up to 1,000 euros a month in your annual tax declaration. So, as you know, in Germany, citizens are obliged to notify the authorities when they move into a new apartment. If you do not register your second home within the statutory period, then you risk a fine. Depending on the authority and the length of time that the deadline is exceeded, this can go up to 1,000 euros when it is incurred. Now, how can you take advantage of having two different households, one kept for private reasons and the other one for professional reasons? Following. If you're single and you have to maintain a second home close to your place of work for professional reasons, you can claim some costs for the accommodation as well as a second home tax in your tax declaration. However, the workplace should be easier to reach from the secondary residence as from your primary residence. If you need just an hour for you to reach your main place of residence, then there are higher chances that the tax office will reject the second home as double household it is. Unfortunately, you must also be able to prove as a single person that this first household is the primary center of your life. In the city of your main residence, and that you pay at least 10% of the ongoing housing cost. This includes, for example, rent, utilities, expenses for groceries, and the other everyday necessities. Now, if you are married and you visit the family home within Germany at least 6 times per year, then the tax office will recognize it as your main residence. As a single professional, normally the center of your life is a place to you where you have a closer personal connection. For married expatriates, it is where their family lives, meaning their spouses and children. Now, let's go on the different costs that you can deduct once this is recognized as double household keeping. First of all, rent and utilities. You can deduct monthly rent, electricity, gas, and water. They can be deducted up to 1,000 euros per month from your taxes. Also, taxes from the second residence or Zweitwohnsitz-Steuer. Many cities impose this tax on a second residence. Broadcast licensing fee, meaning Rundfunkbeitrag, this for the television and radio and all of this. And it is a fee of about 215 euros per year for mandated for all of the different households in Germany. Additional deductible cost for double households or double household Führung would be, of course, homeware bound or Heimfahrten in German. You can also use with this the commuter's flat rate of 30 cents per kilometer or Entfernungspauschale. What else? Moving cost, using also the flat rate updated year by year for single people, married people, and each additional family member. Additional meal allowance or Verpflegungsmehraufwand for each meal a day you can deduct either if it's a full day, then 28 euros currently, and if it's less than a full day, or it's also the first day of you entering this double household keeping, then you can deduct half of it, so 14 hours per day for going in and going out. Also furniture and fixtures, of course. So my dear expats, now you have the full theory on how you can define double household keeping within Germany. Now, my dear expats, now you learned what are all of the requirements for double household upkeeping within Germany. Now let's put a clear cut as well in what it is not. And for this, let's use an example. If you live with your family, for example, in Stuttgart, and you are working in the company A as an employee, expat, and then you have to take participation inside of, for example, a 7 months educational training in Köln, in Cologne. And for that, you need a room and you have to go each weekend to back home in Stuttgart. This capacitation or training place is not your first place of work, which is an important criterion. The first place of work is still in Stuttgart, and therefore there is no double household keeping in this case. But you can use the professional trip cost, that deduction, so the berufliche Reisekosten mit Reisenkostenabzug. So that would be the case for professional trips, but not yet double household keeping, because your first place of work is still in Stuttgart. It didn't move to Cologne. If you had wanted this case to be accepted, then what would have needed to happen is that your first place of work would need to have transitioned from Stuttgart now to Cologne. In that case, that would be then recognized as double household. Now, something quite key is that you have a special functionality in the double household keeping where you can deduct these mid allowances, these flat rates, Verpflegungsmehraufwand in German, for the first 3 months with no issue when this double household keeping is recognized. So that means that for these 3 months altogether, for when you started upkeeping this double household, you can deduct this flat rate of between 14 euros and 28 euros for 2021 for each day where you were functioning your double household. So that means that within this 3 months period, you have this advantage where you can, with no issue, deduct between 14 euros for less than half a day, and 28 euros currently in 2021 for a full day meal allowance for upkeeping this double household as well. So a fundamental requirement for this double household keeping to be accepted, as you can understand, is that these two households, these two different apartments or houses, you are keeping it yourself either as a tenant, so you're renting this place, or you own it as well. For that, the proof would be definitely to have the rental contracts or that you have the purchase contract if it's your home. So now that we spoke about the first case, double household keeping within Germany, let's go on the other hand to the second case, to double household keepings outside of Germany or in your home country, because this would definitely be quite interesting for all you expats coming at first from your home countries. So let's read on this article. Deductible expenses for work-related second household. Expatriates who start working in Germany may keep the main household in their home country. And this is especially the case if the family stays back home. The situation then allows two households and leads to the question, are these expenses for the German household also deductible from the taxes? And the answer is, under certain strict criteria, indeed they are. Employees can deduct costs connected to having two households from their taxable income if these costs are work-related. Alternatively, the employer may reimburse those expenses free of taxes. If legal criteria for a double household are not met, costs for traveling and accommodation can also be deducted in accordance with other rules if they are work-related. A double household keeping is only work-related if an employee has this main household at one place, is working at another place, and lives at the place of their occupation. An employee has their main household where his center of life is, in German called Lebensmittelpunkt, defined specifically as Eigenhausstand and Lebensmittelpunkt. Regularly, a married person has it quite easily, as he has his center of life where the spouse and the family stay. However, a single person can also have a double household if he keeps his center of life at their hometown. An employee keeps a center of life in his hometown if he stays there on a regular basis, if not working away, being on holidays. And expenses for a private motivated double households are not tax deductible at all. So, for all you, my dear expats, foreign employees can deduct costs for a double household for tax purposes under these restrictions. If the home abroad is kept and the family remains abroad, then the employee has to travel home at least a few times a year. How often he travels home depends on how distant their home country is. If it's in Europe, for example, then there should be at least 6 trips home per year. To further destinations such as, for example, Australia, India, Latin America, and all other long-distance destinations, 1 trip home per year might be sufficient to be approved. Single or employees bringing their families to Germany might have it much bigger problems to prove that their center of life remains abroad. However, these employees might still be able to deduct the above-mentioned traveling expenses for their first months staying in Germany as the so-called moving expenses. This well explained in a previous video about all of the different deductible costs regarding moving, relocation, that has a professional motivation in the background. So what do you need to prove with this? What sort of documentation is needed? The employer has to prove that the legal requirements of a double household are met. He has to document this. Single or married employees bringing their families to Germany should at least give a written confirmation that they keep a household in their hometown or home country with its center of life. Meaning this, rental contracts, marriage certificates, which are approved in German. And if it's in a foreign language, then all be officially translated into German, as well as flight costs. And now, my dear experts, going down to a real life case of how this is concretely being implemented into a tax declaration, let's go to this situation over here of an expat submitting a double household between Germany and a foreign country. So how would this look like? It look like this. If you go into the full delivered tax declaration, you will see inside of the professional related costs or Werbungskosten, one section called Doppelte Haushaltsführung. And here, Mehrwertbindungen für doppelte Haushaltsführung, that's what it goes. Let's see, we see some basic information. When this double household started, the reason why, of course, it must be a professional reason. Then when it ended in 2021, what is the place of work? And if the center of their life interest is in a foreign country, then submit it over here. You say here, so for example, here the Netherlands. And important is, es liegt ein eigener Hausstand am Lebensmittelpunkt. So you are paying a rental contract in that place as well, where your family is living in this case. So the address of it, of course, since this time where you register in this foreign city. And all over here, you can see all of the different types of deductions that you can do for your household in Germany, which is work related. And once you submit a request to recognize your double household, what will you get back? You will get an explanation form similar to this. So in this letter, I will show you. We will go take a look at something similar to this. So Finanzamt, all right. Income Tax Declaration 2018. Dear Miss or Mr. Sie haben in der Einkommensteuererklärung 2018 mehrfach Aufwendungen im Rahmen einer doppelten Haushaltsführung geltend gemacht. Zur Prüfung der Frage, ob die Voraussetzungen für den Abzug der von Ihnen beantragten Aufwendungen dem Grunde nach und der Höhe erfüllt sind, bitte ich Sie, den nachfolgenden Fragebogen genau und vollständig zu beantworten und die erforderlichen Unterlagen einzureichen. Ich bitte bis spätestens 1.10.2021 um eine Antwort. Die Verpflichtung ist zu beantworten. Okay. So that means you received this letter. You have to prove that you actually had a double household which was professionally motivated. To answer this letter, what do you need to do? Here you got quite a standard procedure from them. An answering letter, an answering page where you can submit certain explanations. And let's go and do this. So here you can put your city. So put here, for example, München, and the date. Where is the date? So it's like this. So an example. So tax number, different as you know from your tax identification number, because it is only your processing case in the specific Finanzamt which is requesting this proof, evidence, and the income tax declaration 2018. Please send us the form filled and signed. The first household in the middle point of the life interest. That means in this foreign country. If we were speaking before that it is your family's rented apartment, then we can say it would apply, by the way, if it's India or if it's Latin America, doesn't really matter. So just put in here, yeah, your hometown where your family address, so address of your hometown where your family lives. So the rented apartment or house or own house. Great. This would then be completed for you. Now, what else? Are you keeping this first household in your previous registered place where you were living before, coming to your second household, professionally motivated, and then you have to say, yes, of course, I'm doing so. So you put an X, yes, since when? It's the question. If you are putting an income tax declaration for 2018, then you might want to say it was previously. Although you can also do it from this year, but let's say in this case, you moved in 2018 to Germany in, example, let's put it in April, and previously you were living back in your home country. So since when are you paying for this rented apartment in your home country? Let's put it was since 3 years ago, before you come into Germany, your home city. So where your spouse and kids are also living. So here, like, it was since 2015. Are you living in your own household with more people? And then you say, yes. For this example, let's say it's your spouse and your child. And if yes, since when are you living there? You can place on the first date as well. Is there existing a household community currently and then you say yes. This question: Wird in dieser Wohnung auch während Ihrer beruflichen Abwesenheit hauswirtschaftliches Leben geführt, gegebenenfalls durch wen? Verwandtschaftsgrad ist. What is requested from you, expected it is to say yes. Meine Ehefrau und Kind leben dort immer noch. That would be the case that you, as an expatriate, you move into Germany while your wife and your child are still living in your home country. That's your family. Now, aufgrund welchen Rechts nutzen Sie die Wohnung? Eigentümer, Mieter, Untermieter, sonstiges. Could be then so that you own this place. So it's a house from you bought in your home country. That could be the case, or it could also be so that you are renting this apartment. So in either one of them, you must submit a proof, and so a purchase contract of if it's your home, or the rental contract if it's only a rented apartment. So in this case, let's keep it simple. Let's say it's a rented apartment you have in your hometown. Right? Let's put Mita. Con Familienwohnung. In der Heimatstadt. That's expected over here. And quite clear, it is requesting the proof of these copies of your contracts. If it's in your mother language, for example, it's in Hindi or it's in Spanish, then you have to translate it, of course, to German officially. Now, wurde der Wohnsitz am Mittelpunkt der Lebensinteressen innerhalb des Kalenderjahres verlegt? In best of cases, you would say here no. You will go in here over here and say no. I did not transition my registered middle point of my life interest within the respective calendar year we are speaking now about, so 2018. No, I did not. Warum wird die Unterkunft, Wohnung am bisherigen Ort aufrecht erhalten? Bitte schildern Sie in diesem Zusammenhang ausführlich, welche Beziehungen Sie zu diesem Ort haben. Vereinszugehörigkeiten, Eltern, Freunde, Bekannte, Kirche, Politik, andere Aktivitäten auch. So you can simply say, since you moved to Germany, you still have all of your friends there, as well as your family, as well as you have some commitments, some loan, for example, as well. So here, ausführlich welche Beziehungen Sie zu diesem Ort haben. So a good answer for this would be, weil ich dort meine Familie habe. So, Familie, Ehefrau, Kind, and you can say other. Außerdem habe ich noch bereits Zugehörigkeiten, Freunde, ich gehöre dazu zur Kirche. It's understood that if you are making all of these statements, you have to find a way to prove it. Therefore, it's also smart choice not to exaggerate with this. So, of course, if it's your family, you have a marriage certificate, that's easy. You have your child, that's also easy. You have the birth certificate. If you are saying that you belong to some clubs, some institutions, some unions, then you have a union certificate as well. You're paying maybe for some membership, and if you belong to the church as well. You have to be able to prove now with some clear documentation translated to German that you have all of these relationships and contexts attaching you to your first household where the middle point of your life interest is located. So hier, Fahrten, kürzeste Entfernung von Ihrem Beschäftigungsort zu Ihrem bisherigen Wohnort. If we are speaking about a foreign country, it could be also in the thousands of kilometers. So let's put simply the flight distance, for example, like 3,000 kilometers. If it's, for example, between Germany and some Latin American country or Asian or else. Wie oft fuhren Sie von Ihrem Beschäftigungsort zu Ihrem bisherigen Wohnort? Anzahl aller Heimatfahrten im Kalenderjahr. We're speaking about now that it's a country outside of the European Union. Therefore, we do not need to prove that you are traveling at least 6 times a year there, but 1 or 2 at max. So for that, let's say that you are traveling 2 times per year, your home country, to visit your family. Let's put in here how many times? 2 times per year. Could also be on the minimum 1, but at least 1, as you saw in the previous requirements. Welche anderweitigen Fahrten wurden mit dem vorstehend benannten Fahrzeug ausgeführt? Amtliches Kennzeichen. Now we are speaking about a place that is 3,000 kilometers away, and it's not believed that you would do this every time with a car. So you can keep on this. If it's company car, it says Dienstreisen innerhalb beruflichen Veranlassungen Auswärtstätigkeit. So no need for this. There we go. Wohnen am Beschäftigungsort. In here, so it says, welche anderweitigen Fahrten wurden mit dem vorstehenden benannten Fahrzeug ausgeführt? Amtliches Kennzeichen. So if it's a place in a foreign country we're speaking of about where you keep your double household, then it's not believed that you would do this every time with a car. So we can skip on this one. Now, for this case, the next one, chapter. Wohnung am Beschäftigungsort. Anschrift der Wohnung, Unterkunft am Beschäftigungsort. So where you are living now. If we are now submitting this for your apartment or shared flat to be in Munich, let's also make it so that you are living exactly, yeah, Musterstraße 1 in Munich. Over here, we are speaking about the apartment where you have a rental contract near of your first place of work. Now, follow. Um welche Art von Unterkunft am Beschäftigungsort handelt es sich? Bitte kreuzen Sie an. In the best of cases, it's one of these. So it's a rented apartment. Say 1-person flat. So eigene angemietete Wohnung. See also all the other options are room inside of a shared flat, über einen längeren Zeitraum reserviertes Hotelzimmer. Could also be the case for the first months, for example. Gemeinschaftsunterkunft, Übernachtung bei Freunden und Bekannten, unentgeltlich vom Arbeitgeber zur Verfügung gestellte Wohnung. Not all of these. Now, Anschrift der Arbeitsstätte und des Arbeitgebers. You are working in Munich, let's say for BMW, then you can put here simply the address of BMW. Address of your employer in Munich. Quite easy to research. And it's also in your consolidated tax statement. Wie viele Kilometer ist diese Wohnung Unterkunft von Ihrer regelmäßigen Arbeitsstätte entfernt? Put it here. The closer the better. So, you see, bei mehr als 40 Kilometer bitte weiter bei Frage 5, ansonsten Frage 6. Should we believe that you are living in this secondary household due to professional reasons because it's closer? Of course, the closer the better. We will write therefore here that you are in your rented apartment some 5 kilometers away. So really good. 5 kilometers away from your first place of work. Bei einer Entfernung von mehr als 40 Kilometern zwischen Wohnung, Unterkunft am Beschäftigungsort und aus welchen Gründen wurde diese Wohnung in einer Entfernung von über? Of course, now they want, if it's farther than 14 kilometers, why are you even keeping this double household? Why are you not breaking it down and bringing it now only to 1 if you are anyway way farther from your first place of work as if not? So Wann erfolgte die Wohnungseinnahme am Beschäftigungsort? This corresponds now to the first date where your rental contract is beginning. Let's put in this case where you also move to Germany. Let's say for the sake of simplification that it was, as we were speaking about before, the 1st of April of 2021. If we are submitting this for 2022. Wie viele Quadratmeter hat diese Wohnung? You're speaking now about your rented apartment near your first place of work. So let's put in here, it's a one-person flat of 40 square meters. Bitte legen Sie den Mietvertrag Nachweis über die Nutzungsmöglichkeit der Wohnung, Unterkunft am Beschäftigungsort bei. So again, now the second rental contract in request. Not anymore the first one from your home country translated to German from your mother tongue, but now this one, which must be for sure in German. Looking about your rental contract in here. Steuerfreie Arbeitgebererstattung. Wurde Ihnen vom Arbeitgeber steuerfreie Leistungen wegen doppelter Hausausführung gewährt? Es sind sämtliche steuerfreie Arbeitgeberleistungen wegen doppelter Hausausführung anzugeben, auch wenn sie nicht vollständig sind im Ausdruck der elektronischen Lohnsteuerbescheinigung enthalten sind. Yeah, as you see it here, many times when you have a double household, your employer will automatically refund these amounts inside of your consolidated tax statements, and they will all come into your ELSA through your retrieval code. But not all of the time. Sometimes they also give it to you as a different type of benefit. And indeed, you have to also register this service in the form. If you didn't, then you can simply say, no, I paid it all by myself. This move had complete taking of cost into my account, and my employer did not refund any of this. In that case, then your deduction for your double household will be accepted in full. If that is the case, in the rental contract, it is stated how much you're paying for all of the utilities, living costing, and also the calculated full rent, and you can deduct on the other different categories that rent for each month since you took this double household due to professional reasons. And then here at last, you will write quite easily your foreign address, and let's put Munich. It's here before the first. In that case. And here your signature. So all of the checklist with the documents that you would need, it's in here. If you're putting for the driving cost, simply the distance flat rate on Entfernungspauschale, then you don't need proofs. The distance is anyway quite easily researchable through Google Maps. But if you had, for example, monthly cost public transportation tickets, then you can also submit it over here. That's why it leaves a blank where you can write what specific document you have to prove this. And here the two contracts for sure. And that, my dear expats, would conclude on how you can, under each specific situation, deduct all of the cost from upholding two different households, one for professional reasons in Germany and one either within Germany, another German city, or also outside of Germany in your home country, and therefore benefit with this substantially through your income tax return filing.